Hello and welcome to Runneeti, brought to you by Bad Brick 7 and CricTracker. England versus Sri Lanka. England would be eyeing their third consecutive T20I World Cup semi-finals, while Sri Lanka would be looking to sign off on a high at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Hello and welcome. And we've got Deep Das Gupta. We'd also be joined by Farooq Engineer shortly to discuss about this game. Deep, on one side, nothing to lose; on the other side, everything to play for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Sri Lanka hasn't had a great tournament. They've played at times, they've been a little patchy, but they've obviously, the other important thing is they haven't really beaten England in a long, long time. I think the last time they beat England was 2014 or something. So that goes back a long, long time. On the other hand, I mean, everything to play for as far as England is concerned. Because bottom line is, okay, they don't have to worry about net run rate anymore because they've got a better net run rate than Australia. But obviously, still have to win and get those 2 points. So, yeah, and it's not going to be easy, keeping in mind the fact that it's going to be in Sydney and the Sydney pitch hasn't really played as well as some of the other pitches, been slow and tacky. That's where I think Sri Lanka might have an advantage.
फारूक सर, ये चर्चा और दिलचस्प पिच के कारण भी हो जाती है, जैसा कि दीप ने मेंशन किया। यूज्ड पिच है, 2 मुकाबले इस पिच पर हुए हैं। आपको क्या लगता है स्पिनर्स का बोलबाला होगा?
Well, I mean, if the answer is if England win, they qualify. As simple as that. I mean, the last four for me will be New Zealand, India, England, and South Africa. These are my four. I've said that all along, actually, and that is the. So today's match, okay, if Sri Lanka beat England, then all sorts of permutations may come across. But if England win, then just full stop. England go through.
Interesting. This tournament has been because of course, rain and, of course, high quality clashes where there have been upsets as well. But talking about Sri Lanka now and their campaign thus far, they would want to prove deep कि अभी तक जैसा प्रदर्शन आया, क्योंकि इंग्लैंड से पहले न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया दोनों से बड़े मार्जिन से मात मिली, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि टीम खराब है। एशिया कप जीता था, अपने मेडल को प्रूव करना चाहेगी।
बिल्कुल, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है। टीम तो बहुत अच्छा है, and as you rightly mentioned, एशिया कप में भी हमने देख लिया how good this Sri Lankan side is. But the only issue is, I mean, the disadvantage that Sri Lanka has had right through this tournament कि उनका जो main bowlers थे, they are not available. एक के बाद एक everyone got injured. I mean, if you look at this bowling attack, उसमें सिर्फ आपको शायद लाहिरू ही मिलेंगे जो maybe would have played in the first 11 as far as quick bowlers are concerned. So obviously that's a big handicap for Sri Lanka, especially in Australia की अगर हम बात करें, और batting has been very patchy जैसे मैंने पहले कहा, and they've underperformed. क्योंकि अगर आप एशिया कप देख लें, इनफैक्ट लास्ट ईयर का वर्ल्ड कप भी उठा के देख लें, people like Asalanka, Kusal Mendes, Nisanka, Rajapaksa has not fired at all. Dasun Shanaka has not fired. I mean, the main reason, अगर आप उठा के देखें पिछले एक साल में Sri Lanka has done so well, especially chasing down total, is because of Rajapaksa and Dasun Shanaka, them chasing down big totals and finishing games off for Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, ये दोनों जो impact players हैं down the order, and including Asalanka as well, they have not fired at all. So they would be disappointed with the performance of the batters, and obviously as far as bowling, as I mentioned, a little disadvantaged. Hasranga has been a little patchy, even though he's still the highest wicket taker, keeping in mind Pala round. Otherwise, yeah, so it hasn't been a great tournament for them, to be honest.
Yeah, Sri Lanka have blown hot and cold, like just Pakistan have. On their day, Sri Lanka are capable of beating anyone, and so are Pakistan for that matter. But Sri Lanka just haven't fired. Hasaranga has been an outstanding, player in the series, but he hasn't that much support from the rest of the squad. I agree with Deep Das entirely.
Indeed. Let's have a look at the head-to-head, how the two teams have fared against each other in the past. The records, of course, overwhelmingly in favor of England, 9-4. And remember, the record that we were mentioning since 2014 T20I World Cup, Sri Lanka have not managed to defeat England. Now, Farooq, sir, there's another interesting subplot to this conversation. Deep, we'd also take your thoughts on it. Chris Silverwood. He was England's coach and then he took over the reins of Sri Lanka and has brought about a turnaround. So there'd be considerable interest on him as well ahead of this clash.
Absolutely, yes. Obviously, if you look at Chris Silverwood was coaching England a year ago and now with Sri Lanka, and obviously he's made a difference. One of the biggest differences you see those placards outside in the dugout telling the
Yeah.
captain, the matchups and stuff like that, which obviously was introduced in that Indian, so rather the English camp a while ago. So yes, I mean, and he's done well, to be honest. I've had a few conversations with him, especially during the Asia Cup and all. He's got a good bunch of players to work with. Again, unfortunately, missing out on those fast bowlers. But what he would want to see, I guess, Chris, is a lot more consistency. I know this format, it comes at a premium consistency you can't expect. But the impact players, I mean, you want them to fire in a big tournament because, yes, you will have a Pathum Nisanka or a Dhananjay who will contribute. But the main impact has to be your number 5, 6, and batters coming down the order. And I would like to believe that Chris would be a little disappointed with that and would want them to be a little more consistent in their performances.
Intent has been the buzzword under Chris, and it's pretty interesting because for someone who came from a very different socio-cultural background to go to Sri Lanka to understand what the country was going through and to encourage its players, its cricketers to deliver their best, Farooq sir. Your thoughts on Chris Silverwood and the impact that he has had on Sri Lanka? Farooq sir?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? We are seeking your response on the impact Chris Silverwood has had on Sri Lanka.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, as you rightly said, Chris Wood, has been a good county coach. He's been with Yorkshire for ages and all that. But he's done a reasonably good job with Sri Lanka. But it's the players themselves who should realize and take up the responsibilities. It's not up to Chris Wood can tell them one thing in the dressing room, but out in the middle, the players have got to go and execute
Yeah.
you know, all the discussions, all the plans that they have made. And if they don't do that, they're going to suffer. So, I mean, Sri Lanka have had a few drop catches, missed runouts. The fielding used to be superb, but of late
Yeah.
the fielding has gone off. The main batsmen have not been, firing. The main bowlers have not been firing. So how can you compete at the international stage? Otherwise, they would, on their day, they're capable of beating any team in the world. Just like Pakistan, you don't know which Sri Lankan team will turn up on the day. Just like Pakistan, you don't know which Pakistan team will turn up on the day. On their day, they're world beaters. But same with Sri Lanka, unfortunately. They got to be more consistent. Consistency is the thing that is lacking.
In fact, we talked about their fielding, one of the worst in this tournament in terms of dropped catches. And that, of course, has an impact on how the match pans out. Now, fielding is one area, Deep. I mean, there's not much about skill there as compared to batting and bowling. It's about how much you put in as far as your intent is concerned. And I've been constantly harping on the word intent because that's what Sri Lankan team management has also been doing. Your thoughts on it?
Fielding actually becomes a very, very important facet, especially when you're playing in Australia because the grounds are massive. So, technically also it becomes very important because cutting angles, you making sure in the right area because the boundaries are so long. For example, in Sydney or Adelaide or even, Perth, anywhere in Australia, we're talking about, 75, 80-yard boundaries. So it becomes very, very important knowing how to cut angles, making sure your catches are taken. I mean, listen, in the subcontinent, we are used to 60-yard boundaries. So most of those hits are sixes. Even the miss hits are sixes. But in Australia, they aren't. So you got to be extremely careful, and that's where fielding, especially in Australia, becomes very, very important. Maybe as important as batting and bowling.
And now let's turn our attention to the English team because we've discussed in length about the Sri Lankan team. But the Sri Lankan spinners, we did touch upon them. Now the English spinners, Farooq sir. We've seen that in the previous game against New Zealand, both Adil Rashid and Moeen Ali were introduced inside the power play overs. Now this is the SCG ground, which is known to help the spinners. Used pitch. How do you see their role in today's game?
I think we'll see Liam Livingston as well come on to join Adil. Adil Rashid is bowled superbly. Moeen Ali, okay, he comes and gets wickets. He comes and breaks partnership. He's a very intelligent bowler, a very experienced all-rounder, in fact. And Liam Livingston will certainly play a part in this, especially with the boundary lines there. The England fielding is very good, well supported. I mean, they will not allow twos when there are only ones, and which is very important. These singles could add up to 10, 15 runs, which could make a huge difference between winning and losing. So the fielding, as you rightly pointed out, plays a very important part. But Livingston, as a spinner, will certainly play an important part in the England spinning attack.
दीप आदिल रशीद और मोइन अली ने भी अच्छी गेंदबाजी की है, हालांकि अभी तक विकेटलेस रहे हैं. ऑफ कोर्स उस पे आपकी प्रतिक्रिया. और इसके अलावा लिविंगस्टन काफी अंडरस्टेटेड एज अ बॉलर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमने देखा है जब भी गेंद उन्हें थमाई जाती है इम्पैक्टफुल रहते हैं.
देखिए, अब मैं समझ सकता हूँ आदिल रशीद क्यों विकेटलेस रहे, क्योंकि काफी हद तक उनके मेन बॉलर हैं इंग्लैंड के. अगर आप देखें तो उनका अगर कोई कमजोर पक्ष है इंग्लैंड का तो उनकी गेंदबाजी है. इट्स बेसिकली इंग्लैंड अगर T20 टीम, इट्स बेस्ड अराउंड जो पावर हिटर्स हैं. एक से नंबर में सैम करन 9 नंबर पे आते हैं. आई मीन ही इज गुड इनफ टू बैट इन द टॉप ऑर्डर. तो वो उनका स्ट्रेंथ है. या एब्सोल्युटली, आई मीन इंग्लैंड के लिए ओपन कर किया है उन्होंने. नंबर 3 पे रेगुलरली बैट किया है फॉर अ व्हाइल. सो तो उनका वो स्ट्रेंथ है. तो बॉलिंग ऑब्वियसली अभी मार्क वुड आए हैं तो थोड़ा सा एक डिफरेंट डायमेंशन भी आ गया, क्योंकि एक ऐसे गेंदबाज जो 150 पे डाल सकते हैं. तो स्पिनर्स की हम जब बात कर रहे हैं वहां पे थोड़ा सा ये मसला हो जाता है कि इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया अगर स्पेशली रिस्ट स्पिनर्स देखें हम, उनका मोड ऑफ डिसमिसल्स होता है लेग बिफोर, predominantly bowled their leg before, because most of these wrist spinners पहले जैसे टर्न नहीं कराते हैं. they are more top spinners, so they stick wicket to wicket. प्रॉब्लम ये हो जाता है ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, जहाँ पे बाउंस ज्यादा है तो आप थोड़ा सा ऊपर डालने लगते हैं, और जैसे आप ऊपर डालने लगते हैं तो आप फिर वो हिटिंग जोन में आ जाते हैं. तो जो सब कॉन्टिनेंट में जो लेंथ होता है वो फिर आप डाल नहीं सकते ऑस्ट्रेलिया में. थोड़ा सा आपको ऊपर डालना पड़ता है टू हिट द स्टंप्स. फिर वो तो इसलिए आप देखेंगे उतना ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहे हैं रिस्ट स्पिनर्स इस पूरे टूर्नामेंट में. बिकॉज मेरे हिसाब से बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्स्ट्रा बाउंस विकेट नहीं मिले, क्योंकि पैड पे भी लगता है तो इट्स गोइंग ओवर द स्टंप्स मोर ऑफन देन नॉट. तो वो एक रीजन हो सकता है मेरे हिसाब से, स्पेशली लेग स्पिनर्स, क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर प्रिडोमिनेंटली आजकल गुगली बॉलर्स या टॉप स्पिनर्स, नॉट रियली लेग स्पिनर्स सो टू से. तो वो एक मेरे ख्याल से रीजन हो सकता है व्हाई वी हैवंट सीन एज मेनी विकेट्स फ्रॉम द लेग स्पिनर्स.
And that, of course, also makes sense in case of Hasaranga.
Sorry.
आगे डालना, short of a length for a spinner is a suicide ball. Thank you very much. The batsman has a lot of time to hit it anywhere for a 6 or a 4. So pitching it up and spinning it, and as Deep said, the top spinner pitching up is a very, very important ball, because those are the balls that will get you your LBWs.
जी, और इस बीच इंग्लैंड ने टॉस जीता, रादर श्रीलंका ने टॉस जीता और पहले बल्लेबाजी करने का फैसला लिया. इंग्लैंड के कप्तान जॉस बटलर ने मेंशन किया कि सेम 11 के साथ टीम जा रही है. नाउ ऑफ कोर्स कंसीडरिंग हाउ इंग्लैंड हैव थ्राइव्ड बैटिंग फर्स्ट under Butler's captaincy, and also the fact that at SCG the teams batting first have won all the games, that too by a considerable margin. Deep, your thoughts?
Makes sense, obviously. It makes a lot of sense, क्योंकि Sydney, Farooq sir will vouch for it as well, hopefully. This tournament में it has played slower than the usual Sydney pitch. Generally Australia में Sydney pitches slow खेलती है comparatively to the other venues, लेकिन इस साल थोड़ा ज्यादा ही slow खेली है, थोड़ा ज्यादा ही रुक के आया है. And that's the reason you want to bat first, because second और ज्यादा slow हो जाता है. And because these aren't night games per se, these are more like day games, थोड़ा सा night पे जाता है. और तो उसलिए थोड़ा सा सेकेंड हाफ में बैट करना, चेस करना थोड़ा सा और ज्यादा मुश्किल हो जाता है. सो आई एम अ लिटिल सरप्राइज कितना स्लो खेला है इस वर्ल्ड कप में सिडनी, एंड इट मेक्स अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस, एंड इट्स टू अ ग्रेट एक्सटेंट एडवांटेज श्रीलंका बैटिंग फर्स्ट, टू बी ऑनेस्ट.
Farooq sir, probably a balancing factor considering how things have been at Perth. So probably Sydney is trying to strike an equilibrium in this World Cup.
Well, Sri Lanka have sent a clear message to England that we're going for you. We're trying to beat you here. We're not here just to make up the numbers. They've shown their attacking element by winning the toss and electing to bat. Very brave decision, I would say. Because England are very, very, as Deep has rightly pointed out, England have got a very good batting attack. They bat right up to like Sam Curran, who's like on almost 8 or 9. And to chase the total, England would rather chase that total. So if Sri Lanka get 150, 160, I don't think England would lose much sleep over it, because they know that they are going to get the runs if they bat the 20 overs. And if England get a great start with Joss Butler and Alex Hales, and if other guys, Harry Brook and all these guys go along, Liam Livingston, then I can see some fireworks, England winning easily.
और दीप, ये ऑफ कोर्स बहुत दिलचस्प बात इसलिए भी बन जाती है कि श्रीलंका के अगर हम आंकड़े देखें इस साल, तो पहले बल्लेबाजी करते हुए इतने अच्छे नहीं है। एशिया कप का फाइनल हटाते तो उसके अलावा सारे मैचेस में स्ट्रगल किया है। तो काफी ब्रेव कॉल है अपने आखिरी मुकाबले में इस विश्व कप के।
ब्रीफ तो है, लेकिन देखिए वो हिस्टोरिकल जो भी स्टैट्स हैं, आप दे कैन ओनली गिव यू थोड़ा सा आइडिया कि क्या हो सकता है, बट एंड ऑफ द डे उस दिन क्या कंडीशंस है आर मोर इम्पोर्टेंट एंड पर्टिनेंट देन हिस्टोरिकली क्या हुआ है। आई थिंक इट ओनली मेक सेंस कि हमने जैसे देखा सिडनी के पिच और आज वुड नॉट बी एनी डिफरेंट। तो मेरे ख्याल से इट ओनली मेक सेंस, बट व्हाट यू सेइंग इज राइट, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा एक साइकोलॉजिकल होता है कि यार आप सोचते हैं कि बिकॉज वी वॉन्ट सो मेनी गेम्स चेजिंग बैटिंग फर्स्ट वी हैवंट, तो वो थोड़ा सा प्रेशर रहता है कि पास स्कोर क्या होगा, कैन वी अचीव द पास स्कोर, क्योंकि बैटिंग फर्स्ट द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज T20 क्रिकेट में ये है कि आपको क्विकली यू हैव टू असेस कंडीशंस को एंड देन यू हैव टू फिगर आउट कि यार इसमें पास स्कोर क्या है, ये 180 वाला पिच है, 140 वाला है, तो देन यू हैव टू बैट एंड पेस अकॉर्डिंगली। और क्योंकि 20 ओवर का अगर आपने 3-4 ओवर उसमें लगा दिए तो आपके 20% ऑफ द गेम इज गॉन। तो वो एक थोड़ा सा इशू है। तो होपफुली but as Farooq sir mentioned, I mean, they would have to, जो भी पास स्कोर होगा उससे आप थोड़ा सा 10-15 रन ज्यादा ही बनाए, looking at that batting attack.
स्पिनर्स के टॉपिक पे फारूक,
Chris Silverwood knows the English bowlers, knows the English batsmen, so I'm sure he will give the Sri Lankan people quite a bit of input into it. But Pathum now, for example, he takes his chances. He plays some rare shots, but he comes off. If he comes off, Mendes, Dhananjaya, Charit, Rajapaksa, Hassan, Wanindu. So, I mean, these are all good players. If they come off, it'll be a very, very good match. Very close match indeed. If they don't come off, England will win easily.
Let's cast a glance at the playing 11 to see who are the players that we need to particularly focus on ahead of the slash and into the slash as well. For England, of course, Joss Butler कप्तानी संभाल रहे, पिछले मुकाबले में महत्वपूर्ण पारी खेली थी, एलेक्स हेल्स के साथ अच्छी साझेदारी हुई थी, मोइन अली पिछले मुकाबले में नंबर 3 पर बल्लेबाजी की थी, लियम लिविंगस्टन, हैरी ब्रुक, बेन स्टोक्स, सैम करन, डेविड मलान, क्रिस वोक्स, आदिल रशीद और मार्क वुड। श्रीलंका के लिए एक चेंज हुआ है 11 में, और हमें इसीलिए प्लेइंग 11 में देखने को मिलेंगे एक चेंज के तौर पर। हम उसके बारे में आगे डिस्कस करेंगे, लेकिन पथम निसंका, कुसाल मेंडिस, धनंजय डिसिल्वा, चरिता सलंका, भानुका राजपक्षा, दसुन छनाका, वानिंदु हसरंगा, सी करुणारत्ने, महेश तीक्षणा, लकीरू कुमार, कसून, रंजीता प्लेइंग 11 को कंप्लीट करते हैं श्रीलंका के। और आए हैं जो चेंज के तौर पे मधुशन की जगह, तो एक चेंज श्रीलंका की टीम में ये रहा। लेकिन ओवरऑल अगर हम देखें जो श्रीलंका का 11 है उसमें, और लगातार हम मेंशन कर रहे हैं कि पेसर्स की कमी खली है, क्वालिटी पेसर्स, क्योंकि इतनी सारी इंजरीज हुई है टीम को, लेकिन काफी ज्यादा इस कारण दारोमदार स्पिनर्स पे आ गया है, हसरंगा और तीक्षणा पे। अभी तक लगातार हमने देखा है कि ऐसा नहीं हुआ है कि एक मुकाबले में दोनों ही क्लिक हुए हों, और तो ये ओवरऑल समीकरण को श्रीलंका के लिए खराब कर देता है। मिडिल ओवर्स में ओवरऑल अच्छी गेंदबाजी नहीं हुई है, अपने स्पिनर्स को डिप्लॉय डेथ ओवर्स में करना पड़ जा रहा है। ऑफ कोर्स तीक्षणा पावर प्ले में गेंदबाजी करते हैं, लेकिन ओवरऑल जो इक्वेशन है ये काफी खराब हो गया है श्रीलंका के लिए, क्योंकि क्वालिटी पेसर्स इंजर्ड हो गए।
जी हाँ, थोड़ा सा वो है दिमाग में रखने वाली बात। दूसरी बात ये जो चेंज हुआ है वो थोड़ा सा टैक्टिकल भी है, बिकॉज टॉस में बोला है दासन शनाका ने कि ये थोड़ा वॉर्न आउट पिच है, थोड़ा सा और रुक के आएगा, स्लो होगा। तो वहीं पे करुणा रत्ने का जो है, आई मीन ऑलराउंडर तो है ही, लेकिन साथ में बॉलिंग में स्लोअर अच्छा डालते हैं। तो वो जो बॉलर्स जो तेज गेंदबाज स्लोअर अच्छा डालेंगे, उनके लिए भी फायदेमंद साबित हो सकता है ये पिच। सो मे बी दैट्स द रीजन कि जहाँ पे एक तरफ आपने बॉलिंग को भी थोड़ा सा आपने बोल्स्टर किया, साथ में मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली बैटिंग को भी, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे इतनी देर तक के, वो बैटिंग लाइनअप अच्छा है इंग्लैंड का। तो उस हिसाब से थोड़ा सा डेप्थ आपने अपने बैटिंग में भी बढ़ाया है कि आपने 10-15 रन ज्यादा अगर आप बना सकें, तो इंग्लैंड के नजरिए से एक बड़ा ट्रिकी सा सिचुएशन हो सकता है अगर ये पिच हाल ही में इतना अगर जितना स्लो खेला है। एंड दैट इज कि सारे जो प्लेयर्स हैं, इफ यू लुक एट देम, दे आर ऑल पावर हिटर्स।
Yeah.
जहां पे थोड़ा बॉल रुक के आएगा, स्पेशली बिगर ग्राउंड्स में, they have to get the other side of their skill set भी। ऐसा नहीं कि यहाँ पे अगर धीमे आता है तो you can't be like पैर रखा और you hit through the line, बाउंड्री और सिक्सेस और फोर्स मिलेंगे। तो वहां पे कहीं ना कहीं प्लेयर्स लाइक दाविड मलान हो या मोइन अली हो, जो टेक्निकली थोड़े से ज्यादा साउंड हैं, वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकते हैं अगर सही मानों में अगर पिच उतनी धीमी खेले जितना एटलीस्ट दासन शाना का एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं।
And probably we might not see David Malan batting at number 8 today, considering how the conditions are. But Farooq said there's another interesting thing that comes out of the fact that slower balls have been effective. Now, Mark Wood has gone full throttle throughout this tournament. There was a game where he averaged 149, of course, sent down the fastest delivery of the tournament. How do you see him approaching this wicket against Sri Lanka?
Well, I mean, he won't change his approach. He'll keep on bowling quicker and as quick as he can. Use the bouncer effectively. Mark Wood is a very intelligent bowler. The thing is that all these English players play professional cricket, so they are more professional than the Sri Lankans, so to say. Although Sri Lankan players have been playing at international level for quite a few years now, but England have that edge over Sri Lanka because they play professional cricket day in, day out. And Mark Wood, Chris Woke, Sam Curran, why Sam Curran got wickets against Afghanistan? Because he's a clever bowler. He's not the greatest bowler in the world. He's not the quickest bowler, but he bowls very intelligently. He varies his pace, and bowls the Yorker at the right time. This is a ball that's not been used very often, the Yorker, which is, I think, the most useful ball in T20 cricket or in any form of cricket to stop the batsman scoring. A Yorker on the middle stump, a fast, you know, Yorker on the batsman's toes, is one of the finest balls that a bowler can bowl. And they practice this day in, day out. Again, batsmen practice to hit the Yorker. So I mean, it's a good tussle between them. But the England bowlers know the conditions well, and they will bowl accordingly. England batsmen, Josh Butler, Alex Hales. I don't think David Malan, as you said, he batted number 8 in the last game. He may not be needed even. If Butler, Hales, Brook, Stokes, Liam Livingston, Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, all these guys don't get long, then England don't deserve to win. But I think they've got enough batsmen to put up a good total and to chase any total offered by the Sri Lankans, as long as it's not over 180 or 190. Then it becomes silly, chasing 9 and over. But for them to do that, England bowlers will have to bowl really badly for the Sri Lankan batsmen to get to that total. So which I don't see it happening. I think the par score for Sri Lanka would be about 150, 155, which is fairly easily chaseable by England.
So we got some predictions there as well, and social media is the place that thrives in predictions. So on that note, let's move on to our next segment. That's Social Tracker, brought to you by Bad Brick 7. So, all right, then, ahead of the slash, there's so many conversations going on. Now, England's record against Sri Lanka in the last seven T20Is, they've won all seven of them. So, earlier as well, we brought to you head to head, and here you can see why it's so tilted towards England. Now, here's a meme treating you as well. It might be 2 versus 1 because, of course, Sri Lanka would be also helping Australia if they manage to seal 2 points here because Australia, remember, had a beating against New Zealand and their net run rate is very bad. Now, moving on, today Australia supporting Sri Lanka be like, of course, जय वीरू की दोस्ती आज हो गई होगी ऑस्ट्रेलिया और श्रीलंका के बीच में क्योंकि चाहेगी ऑस्ट्रेलिया डेस्परेटली कि श्रीलंका ये मैच जीत जाए. काफी सारे मीम्स इस मोमेंट को डिस्क्राइब करते हुए एक और आ गया है. सीन्स फ्रॉम टुडेज ड्रेसिंग रूम. तैयार कर रही है ऑस्ट्रेलिया की टीम श्रीलंकन टीम को इंग्लैंड के खिलाफ फेस करने के लिए. क्यों नहीं, 2 पॉइंट्स की जो श्रीलंका को मिलेगा वो ऑस्ट्रेलिया को सेमीफाइनल तक पहुंचा सकता है, पहुंचा देगा. ऑस्ट्रेलिया ऑन द वे टू सपोर्ट श्रीलंका अगेंस्ट इंग्लैंड टुडे और भारी तादाद में जा रहे होंगे ऑस्ट्रेलियन सपोर्टर्स श्रीलंका को चेयर करने के लिए. और इनफैक्ट काफी दिलचस्प होगा कि स्टैंड्स में कौन सा रंग हावी पड़ता है. टुमारो ऑस्ट्रेलिया, रादर टुडे ऑस्ट्रेलिया सपोर्टिंग श्रीलंका बी लाइक स्वामी देना साथ हमारा, और साथ चाहिए होगा ऑस्ट्रेलिया को श्रीलंका का. ऐसी जरूरत पड़ गई है क्योंकि पहले मुकाबले में बड़े मार्जिन से हारा. अनुष्का शर्मा wishes Virat Kohli with funny pictures on his 34th birthday. Now, of course, that has been trending throughout the day, and why not? It's Virat Kohli's birthday, and what he has been, what a colossal figure he has been for Indian cricket. Deep, it's very difficult to encapsulate Virat Kohli's journey, what he means to cricket, Indian cricket, of course, in a few words, but I'll throw that tricky onus on you.
Oh, well, fair enough. I mean, listen, someone like Virat, his impact on the game, again, let me use that word, which is overused at times, uh, is humongous. Leave aside the numbers that he's got, which are phenomenal, but the impact that he's had on Indian cricket in terms of fitness, how you approach the professionalism, not to say that it wasn't before him, it was definitely, but the mindset, it's totally different because cricket, I mean, funnily enough, has evolved so much and it's been evolving. And one area maybe, I mean, maybe that India maybe was lacking a little bit was the fitness side of things, the fielding side of things. I think that impact that he's made on Indian cricket and to a certain extent even world cricket. I mean, he looks at himself as an athlete, and for the longest time, I guess we as cricketers, we were like, we play cricket, which is over 8 hours. It's
Yeah.
not like football or something, or even hockey, which goes on for 70 minutes or 90 minutes. There's a different kind of fitness which is required, more mental and less maybe physical. But I think what is brought to the table is this whole concept of, what we got to be as fit as maybe the footballers or tennis players or people who have more aerobic kind of a sport. So I think that impact is at times you can't kind of those things are not tangible as far as the numbers are concerned. Well, it's there for everyone to see. So uh, yeah, I mean, that's all I've got to say. So and a very happy birthday to Virat, and hopefully keeps going. I mean, I'm so glad that he's got his mojo back, and he's in a really good mind space where I thought last couple of years he wasn't, for whatever was happening maybe on the field, off the field. Don't want to speculate, but I just so glad to see him back in that mind space where he was and kind of ruled world cricket for those 2, 3 years, 4 years till 2019. So it's good to have him back.
Indeed, good to have him back. And in fact, Anushka Sharma chose some of the most interesting pictures of Virat Kohli to wish him happy birthday on social media. Farooq sir, your thoughts on Virat Kohli and what he's been for Indian cricket, and of course, the sort of support he has had from his fans, from his partner, all of that.
Well, I would endorse wholeheartedly what was just said about Virat. In the last couple of years, he was a little off color for one reason or another. There are all sorts of speculations flying about, but he's kept himself superbly fit. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's always been very passionate about Indian cricket and his cricket. He's a family man, and I admire him like the whole of India does, and the whole of the cricketing world does. We need more people like Virat Kohli to be more sort of focused on the game. He's focused on his physical fitness and everything. And at 34, he runs like he's 24. So I think he's got, at 54, probably he won't be slowing down either, I think, the way he's going. He's turned into a vegetarian. He's telling everybody else to turn into vegetarian, that how vegetarian food has been good for him. So, I mean, all in all, he's a very happy man, happy within himself. Something that was lacking maybe a couple of years ago due to reasons unknown, best known to himself, really, But I'm happy for him, for Anushka, for the child. God bless them all and wish them plenty of happiness. And many happy returns from all of us, to him and his family.
A very warm birthday wishes from the whole of CricTracker team. And on that note, we move on to our next segment. That's a contest that we've been running for all of you, all the viewers watching the show. Contest के rules बहुत आसान है. BadBrick7 हैशटैग इस्तेमाल करना है जवाब देते हुए जो हमारा सवाल होगा. आज के मुकाबले के लिए हमारा सवाल ये है कि प्लेयर ऑफ द मैच इंग्लैंड और श्रीलंका के बीच मुकाबले में कौन होगा. डेडलाइन है 1:30 PM की, तो आपके पास अभी भी 8 मिनट है. बहुत सारे एक्साइटिंग हैम्पर्स जीतने का मौका मिलेगा अगर आप यहाँ पे सही जवाब देते हैं, आपका प्रेडिक्शन सही आता है. इसके अलावा लगातार हम एक पोल भी रन कर रहे हैं जिसमें आपके ओपिनियन सीख कर रहे हैं कि सेमीफाइनल्स तक की जगह कौन पक्की करेगा. तो क्या इंग्लैंड वो टीम होगी जो कि ग्रुप 1 से दूसरी टीम बनेगी सेमीफाइनल्स में अपनी जगह सील करने के लिए तीसरी बार लगातार. तो 85% ऑफ वोटर्स को लगता है कि इंग्लैंड को ही मिलेगा सेमीफाइनल का स्पॉट, जबकि 15% ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरफ है. तो खैर ये तो प्रेडिक्शन काफी यहाँ पे क्लियर हो गई. क्विक प्रेडिक्शंस फ्रॉम माय एक्सपर्ट्स. दीप, इंग्लैंड और श्रीलंका?
वेल मैं कहूंगा इंग्लैंड थोड़ा सा आगे, बट द टॉस हैज मेड इट मोर इंटरेस्टिंग. थोड़ा सा ज्यादा लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड हो गया मेरे हिसाब से. बट इंग्लैंड वुड स्टिल बी थोड़ा सा अहेड. आई से मे बी 45-55. अगर टॉस नहीं होता तो शायद थोड़ा डिफरेंस ज्यादा दिखता, बट एंड स्पेशली बिकॉज इट्स सिडनी, it should be a close game. And could be a very, very interesting game as well, I think.
Farooq, sir, quickly, your predictions. England or Australia?
I think I'll go a little further and I'll say 56-44 in England's favor.
Wow. So you've got all the reasons, to all our viewers, you've got all the reasons why our experts are giving such exact figures, because they have the analysis to back it. We'll be back again post-match to discuss how the game fared. As of now, thank you so much for joining.
See you, Deep. Take care.